Welcome to EnVision Center News, where we discuss community impact and involvement with today's nonprofit leaders and philanthropists.
McCallum Morgan, thank you for joining us on the podcast. We are here to talk about the Pearl, which you are a huge part of. Can you tell us what you do for the Pearl and where it's located? I'm assuming most people listening probably know, but tell us where it's located and what you do there.
Yeah. First of all, thanks for having me on today. The historic Pearl Theater, we have an official name,
Yes.
is in Bonners Ferry, Idaho. And it is an old church building. It's like the first church building that was ever built in Bonners Ferry in like 1890 something. I think 93. I always forget. Numbers are weird. But yeah, and I'm the program director there. It's an event center, mainly performance arts. It was kind of started for performance arts, but we've kind of expanded to bringing more community programs, classes, and things.
Okay.
And my job as program director is kind of to manage the booking. I manage the calendar. Part of my job description is that I'm supposed to be looking for stuff to bring to the Pearl, but a lot of it has come to me before I've really had the chance to look too hard, which is good. It's always great to have stuff coming in.
Yeah, you have choices.
And interest in being in our building.
How do you decide yes? What makes you say yes? What makes you say no?
It can depend a lot on the need of the person asking and our schedule. A lot of it's dependent on our schedule. If we get too full, especially this year, we're trying to scale back a little bit.
Oh.
Last year we had so much going on that we actually got the feedback from people in the community that we had so many things happening that they had too many choices, and so they didn't know what to go to, so they just didn't go.
Yeah.
And it just keeps us, me and the volunteers that actually make sure stuff is going smoothly, really, really busy.
And this is your full-time job?
This is a part-time job.
Oh, wow.
It is the only thing I'm currently doing, but it's a part-time job.
It sounds like it's a lot.
It can be, yeah, because I also do a lot of the marketing. I do most, not all, but quite a bit of the social media presence and stuff like that. But yeah, as far as like deciding what goes in and what doesn't, right now we've actually had to scale back on our live music, which used to be like kind of the main thing that we had there. But we found last year that we were just not breaking even with that.
Okay.
So we had to kind of shift our focus a little bit on that.
And that's the goal, because it's a nonprofit, right? So you're not trying to, I'm assuming the pricing is very affordable.
Yes.
And you're not really trying to like make tons of money. You just got to cover your bills, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it depends on the kind of event. Like if someone wants to come in and rent the Pearl, like we usually say yes to that if we have room on the calendar, because it's not really our say on what like technically. Obviously, as a nonprofit, we're not supposed to endorse any like political or what's it called. But if someone's coming in to rent the building, then it's not really our thing.
Sure.
And we don't usually advertise rentals.
Yeah.
Especially if there's like a specific message that we don't want to be seen as endorsing or not endorsing.
Like it's like the Bonners Ferry Republicans or the Democrats
Yeah.
or whatever meeting there. It's fine. It's a private event.
It's not really anything to do with us. Sometimes we'll help out anyway, just to be there and make sure that they're taking care of our building. We're kind of picky about taking care of our building when we have the money to do it.
Do people use it for weddings and things
Yes,
like that?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll rent it out for parties,
Okay.
for weddings. We usually have a wedding a year there, more or less. I mean, it's like kind of perfect for a small wedding you wouldn't want to have, because you can have the ceremony and then clear the chairs and have you can have the reception there too.
Sure.
It's like we have a commercial kitchen.
Okay, great.
Which is a separate rent. Like if you're going to rent the Pearl for an event, there's the base rental for the main space, and then we have add-on prices for the kitchen is a separate one, and like the projector and the sound system is another one.
Okay, so when you're kind of filling up your calendar, are you said live music you're kind of pulling back from, so what are you filling it with instead? Like what kind of events?
We're trying a couple new things this year. We just debuted what we're calling Night Owl, and it's kind of an attempt to bring a little bit of nightlife to Bonners, because there isn't really any in Bonners. So right now we're projecting to do one a month, and we just had last month's. And it's an event that starts at like 9 p.m.
Okay.
And it goes to midnight.
Yeah.
And we're kind of just going to try to bring different entertainment and have something a little bit different each time. So that's one of the things. We have a couple of monthly things that have been going for a while now that we're continuing. That's our monthly karaoke night every first Thursday of the month, and we have like an informal book club. We call it book talk. It's like there's no assigned reading. You just come and talk about what you've been reading. That's one of our monthlies. Another monthly is the performer circle. So it's like a kind of like a casual songwriters in the round a little bit.
Oh, okay.
Not an open mic, but kind of.
Yeah.
So we have those monthly things, and then we just kind of keep the weekends open for. I think this month we have. There's a local choir director. I think she directs 2 choirs, the Boundless and Spirit Song, and I forget which is which, but one is like an all women's choir and one is a mixed choir.
Okay.
So she does a recital like every year usually, and those choirs have traveled like all over the world. They've sung in Carnegie Hall and stuff. So that's usually a pretty good show. That's technically a rental, but that is one of the things we're doing. And then for like the live music, like what are we replacing that with? I guess it just kind of depends. Like we're still technically open to the idea of live music. Mainly, we found that like the ticket prices were too high for people in Bonners. And so we kind of I've been telling people that have reached out, because I've had like 2 people reach out to me just last month and like, hey, we want to book stuff. And I'm like, we can't afford to pay musicians right now. And so what we are offering is like, well, if you still want to do it, we can like give you all of the door. Because normally, you pay a musician a guarantee and then a percentage of the door.
Right.
So we've just kind of been saying, we'll give you all the door if you want to risk it with us.
Yeah. So then the onus is on them a little bit to promote it and stuff too. Yeah.
Yeah. And I have had somebody actually email me back and be like, yeah, we could probably work with that. So
okay.
So it's not like I'm not saying no to all live music. It's just like.
You just got to make it make sense.
Yeah. And then like we had a couple the live music that went well last year were actually like local bands, like ones from Bonners that have like all their family and friends showed up, and they did like an all ages show with like kids under a certain age were free, and it was only like a $5 cover charge.
Okay.
And they were keeping all of the doors. So because the Pearl, we usually always have our cafe open, our kitchen, and so we usually always make money in the cafe. So we're always willing to work with people on something like that, so that they can make some money and we can also cover costs. Because we are a nonprofit and we're not out to like make bank on visiting musicians,
which is really great. And so it sounds like there's quite a variety. Like there's stuff for adults after dark. You're not bringing kids. There's bring the kids to the choir concert. I mean, you're really trying to hit all different types of audiences, serve everybody.
That's my like personal goal as the program director, is like variety. I want a little bit of everything. I don't want to just be all folk music shows, which just felt kind of like what it used to be, just a little bit.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with those. I want to keep doing those too. But variety is kind of my main goal.
How did you get involved with this? Were you a volunteer before you became the program director?
A little bit, yeah. I started volunteering first. I had gone to they used to do an open mic night, and I had started going to that to read from some of my writing, and just kind of made friends with the volunteers that have been running it, and kept going back.
Before you knew it, you were applying for the job, or maybe you didn't have to apply. Maybe they're just like,
well,
and
cool. Actually, the job came along at like a super opportune moment, because I had just got so completely burned out with my other job and I quit it, and then the volunteers at the Pro were like, "Hey, we're looking to hire program director." And I was like, "I'll try that." Yeah. So,
did you have experience? Were you like really nervous at first to do like booking and be?
Yeah, I was, because I was like, talking to people is not really my strong suit. That was what I hate. That's what I hated in my previous job, was talking to customers. But
now it's a little bit safer probably when a lot of it's email and not necessarily face to face all the time. Okay, you mentioned your writing. I know we're not here necessarily to talk about McCallum's stuff, but I want to. You piqued the interest. What writings? Like, what were you writing that you were sharing at these open nights?
A lot of people don't know this about me, but I have written and published like 5 novels.
5 novels?
Actually, wait, 6.
Oh my goodness!
I always forget how many books I even have. But yeah, I write fiction.
What kind of fiction?
Science fiction, fantasy mostly.
Okay. Is it a blend of the science fiction and fantasy, or do you have some science
I
fiction?
have some of each.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. You've never blended them together into a sci-fi
not really.
fantasy
Well,
thing.
kind of. The fantasy is kind of steampunk, so it's like a little bit on the sci-fi verge.
Okay.
Kind of.
Can you give us a like, are they available like on Amazon or
They
a
are,
website?
yes.
Or okay.
I also have a website which I think just links to the Amazon.
Okay.
But it's scribeofmadness.com.
Okay.
I made it super easy-ish. It used to be my name, and then I changed domain things, and I couldn't get my other one that was my actual name.
Yeah. That's stinky. Okay. So, and then then we'll finish the sidetrack. But for anybody who's interested, you said sci-fi, fantasy, but can you give us like a quick, are these series, I'm assuming?
Yes, there
Okay.
are 3 books in the like kind of historical fiction, steampunk fantasy, Weathercasters saga. And then there is 1 horror comedy, kind of Jane Austen and zombies,
Okay.
called Ambulatory Cadavers. And then I have 2 books in a space opera series that I'm working on.
Okay. And so what types of, I mean, you kind of just alluded to it, but if you like X book, you would like your books. I mean, what would you recommend?
I mean, technically, this historical fiction one started as what could be considered a fan fiction of The Golden Compass by Philip Pullman. And then, of course, space opera, my space opera books, space opera is the subgenre of science fiction that Star Wars is like the most popular example of.
Okay. So you got a lot of crossover there. People who like, okay, good to know. All right. So if people are interested in that, they can go check that out. But what would you say right now is, I mean, you're saying in a sense, business is booming at the Pearl. Like you're getting you have to tone back the number of acts that you have. And it was like kind of too much. But still, we know that not all of those things are like raking in the cash, even when you have events, constantly. Yeah. So what's the biggest kind of need? Is it financial need? Is it volunteers? Is it something else? Like where does the Pearl need help right now?
We always need volunteers. There's like a couple of us that are there all the time. And then, so we can always use people to just help. Like it's usually super simple stuff like running the door or running the cafe. What I would like is like people who know how to do lights and who know how to run the soundboard. I'm learning how to run the light board so that I can help when we need someone who can do stuff with lights.
Yeah.
But that's something that is always helpful to have because we have like one guy who does sound that we can call on, and we try to only bug him when we really, really need him.
Does he can he teach a class or something like that?
Maybe that would be something that I would like to have at the Pearl is like a class on that kind of stuff. I don't know if there's really a big enough like interest in Bonners for that, but
got to get a few volunteers who just want to do it and link them up with this guy. So you don't have to always call him. And so no experience in any kind of performing stuff is needed to volunteer at the Pearl. You can just be someone who loves the Pearl, wants to see it continue, and you'll take tickets or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. And how deep, like in an ideal world, how many volunteers would you kind of have in your pool?
I don't know, like at least like 10 or
and
so.
Right now you just have a couple?
Right now we have, there's probably more than that. I know a few other people, but it's not a lot. Like if I have to start asking people like, hey, could you show up at this date? And they can't. I don't really have like a second.
Backups,
I don't have a second backup really.
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay, good to know. So volunteering, which is a little different. A lot of the times our nonprofits will come on here and like everybody needs money. Right?
Yeah,
like,
I mean we do too.
Everybody needs money. Sometimes they need volunteers, sometimes they don't. But it's kind of nice for our audience who isn't necessarily someone that has money to give to know, okay, they actually need, I can give my time, right? So that's a great thing that you can do at the Pearl. As far as the financial stuff goes, how do you, other than the shows, hopefully kind of paying for themselves for the most part, like do you do grants, fundraisers?
Yes. We do quite a few grants. And we also we do have like a paid membership.
Okay.
You can be a member of the Pearl, and that like is the lowest tier is like $35 a year.
Oh. And that gets you a certain amount of tickets, or what is that?
Oh gosh, what are the perks? We reworked them. I don't know that the basic tier necessarily gets you anything.
Okay, it's just you're a friend of the Pearl.
You're a friend of the Pearl.
Yeah.
And I think that means you can come, and I think you are I think you're allowed to vote on our board elections if you're a
Oh,
member.
okay.
Again, I should have checked this stuff.
No, it's fine. People can look it up. It's a lot to know. Okay, so board. What about that? Is there a need for board members, or how's the board doing?
Yes, we can. We have a couple elections coming up for board members. And yeah, our pool of board members is also pretty slim.
Okay, so you need that's a somewhat consistent need too in the area. Always
Yeah.
need board members. All the 501c3s need them. And are there any kind of qualifications that you're looking for when it comes to board members?
Not necessarily. We just need people who are passionate about bringing the arts to North Idaho and are just
Good
open
people,
to
decent people.
Yeah.
Are you a decent human who loves the arts?
Yeah.
You could be on the board. Okay, so do you have any fundraisers kind of coming up?
Yes, actually, we're I'm actually kind of modeling it off of the Follies that Angels Over Sandpoint does. So we're doing kind of a variety show kind of thing.
Sure.
We're calling it Bonners Burlesque.
Okay.
That is on November 9th.
Okay, coming up soon.
Yes, coming up soon. And I still need some volunteer performers for it.
And what are you looking for? Like, do they have to be a burlesque
No,
dancer?
no, they can like literally anything.
Okay.
Just something entertaining, something fun. We don't have a theme or anything.
Okay.
I have I think they're Northwest Belly Dance from Spokane. They've actually done a couple shows at the Pearl before. So they're actually volunteering a couple numbers
Okay.
for that. So if nothing else, it'll be a good show for their numbers.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm actually doing a little bit of performance in it as well.
So you're just looking for fun. If you could juggle, you could be a
Yeah,
juggler who tells
yeah,
jokes, and it
yeah,
would be fun.
comedy,
Yeah.
acrobatics, dancing, singing.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be quote unquote burlesque.
Okay. Good to know.
That was just the name we gave it.
Yeah, which is fun. I get it because playing off the Follies makes a lot of sense.
And that's I think the tickets are like $25.
Okay. Available on the website.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, I did make that event available
Okay.
on our website.
Okay.
And we have I think there's like a special like $45 ticket that's like the VIP that will get you
Ooh.
like we are going to save a couple tables close to the stage and there's going to be free drinks with that ticket. And
Okay, cool.
it's just more of like you really want to support the Pearl and also
Sure.
have one free or two free drinks. But
Okay. Yeah, actually, that's a good question. Is like the setup of the Pearl. Is it where there's different kind of seats and or arrangements that you make at the you do
Yeah.
all seats or you can do tables.
We
or-
like to play around and make it kind of a little bit more of like a dinner theater vibe sometimes, and so we have some round tables that we put out, and then like for some of the like movies we'll put just rows of chairs or something. I think we usually do a mix of like some tables and some rows of chairs, but
Okay, so if you're renting it or you're using it, you can kind of dictate
Yes.
how you would like the chairs
yeah,
and tables and stuff.
if
to
you're
be.
renting it, we'll show you like where we have all the tables stored, and you can however many tables you need. We usually have enough tables for everything.
Okay, and then if someone rents the space, do they have to provide their own sound and light or how do you manage that?
It depends on what their budget is. It also depends on like what they're doing, because a lot of the times we will endorse our rentals and give them like a free rental if it's something that we feel like promotes what the Pearl is about, which is about supporting the arts and bringing new and interesting things to the community. So like I'm trying to think of an example. What was one of the ones that we did for free? I think we weren't exactly doing the dance class for free, but there was someone who wanted to do a dance class that we had there going for a little while. It stopped because of low attendance, but I think we're taking rent, or not rent, but from her kind of on like a donation basis of hers.
Yeah.
I think she was kind of just collecting her tuition and she was going to pass it along to us, but it was technically like a free rental for her.
Yeah.
I got sidetracked. What was I supposed to be talking about?
I think you answered the question. I was going to ask you, what's an event that you have put on since you've been the program director that has surprised you by how successful it was, and then maybe even the reverse, like not where you thought this is going to be a hit, and then like no one showed up.
Well, so the movies, we were doing free movies for a while. We got a grant from Pacific Union.
Okay.
Specifically to show movies. And well, actually, no. The grant was also for fixing our movie screen because we're right next to the train tracks, and so all the trains going by shake stuff loose, and one day the projector screen fell, and it landed on one of our volunteers' foot and broke her foot.
Oh my gosh!
Anyway, they paid for fixing our screen, even though it's not really Union Pacific's fault,
right?
Exactly, because it's actually more of a BNSF railway, but but yeah, the movies were like not well attended at all.
And you thought they were,
and I thought like free, like there's nowhere else to go see movies. I mean, it's not like we couldn't afford like first run movies or anything, but we tried to pick stuff that wasn't like on, a major streaming service.
Sure.
We tried to pick stuff that was like had a broad appeal. We did a wild variety of movies too. My favorite was in November. Last November, I got to pick for November, and I picked like 4 because we were doing them like weekly. I got to pick 4 like 80s fantasy movies. So I did like Neverending Story, Legend, and The Dark Crystal, and I can't remember the 4th one, but yeah. So I just thought those were like fun events that people would show up to, and then nobody showed up for the movies. And I think it's because maybe like in the beginning of the year it was conflicting with sports and stuff like that, and then I guess in the deep of winter people just don't want to get out of their house. And I guess maybe it shouldn't be so surprising because people can watch movies at home, and unless it's like a first run or you make it super interesting. Our last one we did actually last month for Talk Like a Pirate Day, we did Pirates of the Caribbean, and we had like a costume contest.
Ooh, did that increase attendance?
No, it did not.
Take it.
So it's hard to get people to come out for movies, we learned.
Which is, well, I don't know. I guess I've never been to a movie at the Canada, but they have them all the time. So I assume that they was successful, but maybe, I don't know. Maybe it works at the Canada, not the Pearl.
Yeah,
for
I think
reason.
we've kind of learned we keep an eye on what the Canada does, but we've also learned that what works at the Canada doesn't necessarily work at the Pearl because completely different communities, different size of communities. And so what's surprised is like the most well attended, probably. So this was actually a rental. It wasn't our event. But in June of this year, we had Bonners Ferry's first ever Pride Festival, which we were super nervous about. And it was a rental, so it wasn't technically the Pearls event.
Okay.
We were sponsoring the part of it because it was like a 3-day thing, and the 3rd day was movies. It was a movie marathon.
Okay.
So we sponsored that, and that was technically our part of the event. And that was the part that, again, nobody showed up for the movies.
The movies. That was just, yeah.
But they showed up for the festival. Like, it was our most well-attended event after months of backlash from the
Wow. Well, that's probably why it was attended, right? If there wasn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, like, we thought, okay, so it's going to be a bunch of people, maybe friends of people from Spokane and Coeur d'Alene and Sandpoint that will come down for the Pride event. But I was shocked at how many, like, it was mostly local people.
Okay.
Yeah, that and the other 2 music events that were local bands were like the most well attended, I think, since other than we always the Shook Twins show that they do every year always sells out or close. I don't think it sold out last year because they had just raised the ticket price and people were a little bit disgruntled.
Yeah.
But yeah, we have that one. They're the exception to our rule of being careful about booking music because we know that the Shook Twins will make Mank.
Yeah. Do you, speaking on people being disgruntled about pricing and stuff, do you have to do kind of a lot of education to people? Like, look, like we charge the prices that we charge, or the bands or whoever, because there's a reason why. We're not just trying to get more money out of you.
See, when somebody else comes in to do a show, they are usually setting their ticket price. And when we have maybe a bad tendency to undersell ourselves.
Yeah.
So like, because we have had that feedback about our prices, even in our cafe, that like it's the cheapest place to get a beer around.
You think
and we're fine with that,
the movies.
right? Come
to a movie and get a cheap beer.
Right. But so yeah, we haven't really done necessarily a lot of education with trying to explain prices to people. We probably should, because
Yeah. I'm wondering about that with stuff that you and I are working on with the Canada too. I've already had people kind of approach and be like, why is it this? Or why does it cost that? And I'm
Right.
like, you know how much these rights cost? You know how much the rental costs? Like, this is thousands and thousands of dollars. You're getting a cheap ticket. Like, if you were to go to a Seattle theater for anything, live
Yeah.
music or anything, it'd be double, triple the price of what anybody charges in Bonner County.
yeah.
Yeah. So but people are used to whatever they're
Yeah,
used
they're
to.
used to whatever they're used to. And yeah, I'm trying to remember what we usually price our tickets for our shows like super cheap. Like they're generally around, we try to keep them under $20. Like
Yeah.
$15 is kind of our normal price, 15 to 18 maybe.
Yeah.
And that's probably too cheap. But we have, like, again, when we were doing the $5 cover charge for the local bands, that's when the most people showed up. So
The price does
impact who shows up. And if you can only sell 5 tickets for $20, you may as well sell 10 for 5.
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
that's not the math.
I know what
That's not mathing out. But anyway,
We know what you're getting at. You'd rather have bodies in the space and not have it be
Yes.
awkward or whatever, and
Yes.
have it feel like
because
it's full of life.
it's super depressing when you have a really great act and there's nobody there. That was one of the again problem with the live music last year. We had Sam True, and she had done a show at the Little Canada the night before and sold it out, and then she came up to the Pearl for like the last show on her tour, and there were like 10 people in there, and I was like, I am so sorry. This is.
She's
but
used
she
to
was-
it. She's a professional.
Yeah.
I was just talking to my mom actually about this today. I was like, if you're a small artist,
Yeah.
they've all played to rooms with like one person listening, or like.
So we just try to make sure that the environment is as welcoming as possible, no matter who shows up.
Yeah.
That's kind of our goal, is to be known as if we can be known as the place that treats its artists really, really well.
Yeah.
Yeah. We try to take care of our talent.
Yeah, and so they want to come back,
Yeah.
even if they didn't
Even
maybe
if
sell
they
as many
didn't-
tickets.
yeah.
They're like, those people were so nice.
Yeah, we just had somebody tell us that we were their favorite place to perform, and
Nice.
she's like performed all over the place. So
That's a
that
great
was-
compliment.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so what would the impact be if like the Pearl just like didn't exist tomorrow? Like, how do you sell like the importance of what you do there and why it matters and why people should care?
Well, I mean, it is the only performing art, like the only performance arts space in town, really, other than like, I don't know if you could like rent the fairground, I guess. But yeah, we're the only like actual live music venue. I believe like the woman who started it, she bought the building after the Shook Twins did a show at like the fire hall or something, and there was just like not enough room for people.
Yeah.
And she was like, this place needs like a concert venue. So it is like the only concert venue. And like there's other places in town, like restaurants and stuff, that have live music and have open mics and stuff. But we're the only like space that's dedicated for that, and the only space that like, again, we give free rentals to people who are bringing like the kinds of art classes or things that we think would benefit the community.
Yeah. That's so important. The classes and the stuff.
Yeah.
That is really key. Yeah. Yeah. That's special.
Yeah.
And do you get do you get requests from the community, like asking, like, are you going to do a class on this, or
Yeah.
bring in someone who's going to?
Yeah, we try to make sure we always listen to those kinds of requests, and if we can get our hands on what they're asking for. It was a weird way to put that, but yeah, if we can find someone to bring that to our community, then that's definitely something that we look for. And
Yeah. That's cool. Is there any events or anything else you want to plug before we sign off here? I know you got
I
a
guess
flyer
while
there,
we're
some stuff.
talking about things that don't work, we have a movie for Halloween night, Thursday. We're showing the original Nosferatu from 1922.
I can't even say I'm familiar with that. I'm not going to lie and pretend I know what that is.
It was like one of the first film adaptations of Dracula,
Oh.
but they didn't pay for the rights, and so they changed all the characters' names and they shifted stuff around a bit, and they made it anyway. And then Bram Stoker's widow sued them, and they were ordered to destroy all copies of the film. but thankfully some survived, and we have
Okay.
Nosferatu. I wanted to show it because there's a new remake that's coming out on like Christmas or something.
Oh, is there?
And so
Oh,
I was
wow.
like, okay, it's time to rewatch the original.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Well, anything else that you want to, we didn't even get into, I don't know if like the Pearl has like a kind of like a clear mission statement or just something that you want people to know, especially folks that live here maybe in Sandpoint and like they don't maybe, why should they check out the Pearl? If you're not from
Right.
that town, like what is special about the Pearl? And they might say, we have all these bars, we have the Panada, we have things here, we have the Heartwood, we have all this stuff, but like, why should they, choose a date night and go to the Pearl at some point?
Well, I guess like as our mission statement, we just want to be like we want to be a space for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
We want to have something for everyone. We want to be a welcoming space for everyone. And just offer things to the community that they can't get anywhere else in Bonners. We have like one of our longest running events is called Tea and Taro. So it's kind of it's just a little something for people of alternative faith practices.
Mm-hmm.
Because there isn't really a space for that in Bonners.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, as for why people should drive all the way up to Bonners. Well, for one thing, it's a beautiful drive.
Yeah, it is.
But yeah, you never know what we try to keep things interesting.
Yeah.
And yeah, again, we just try to be a welcoming space and a place where people can hang out and have a good time. And
you have the cheapest beer in town.
we have the cheapest beer in town. Yeah, we have $4 beers with $2 beer specials. And actually, I think someone commented about how cheap our wine is. We do like $6 glasses of wine, which seems much to me, but I don't drink wine, so.
Yeah, to each their own.
But yeah, and just speaking personally, the people at the Pearl are cool. The other volunteers, I enjoy being around them and being in that space. There's just something about that old building that it just has a really cool vibe. Yeah, you just walk in there and it feels kind of just like home.
Yeah. Oh, that's so nice. Such a sweet note to end on. McCallum, thank you for keeping the arts alive in Northern Idaho, and we encourage all of our listeners to check out the Pearl at some point. Make it, like I said, make it every 6 months or something. If you don't,
just
go
check
to a
out
date night.
the website. We keep all our events listed.
Go to one of those movies. It'd basically be a private showing.
Please come to our movie.
Do you sell popcorn at the movie?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, awesome. Well, thanks, McCallum.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to today's episode. For more information, you can go to crecIdaho.com. Please like, share, and subscribe. We'll see you again soon.